What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to College Football Talk with Peter Burtonette. It's been a minute since I've put out a video. Part of that is because it is, kind of the slow period. Not a whole lot to talk about so far in the offseason of college football. Obviously, there's always something going on. But I've also been adjusting to being a father. My wife recently went back to work, so I've been taking care of my little girl during the day. So that's been kind of an adjustment, but I'm back with this video, have a little bit of time. The in-laws are in town, and so they're kind of out with my wife and the baby, so I'm getting an opportunity to kind of sit down and chat with you guys. What I want to talk about in this video, you probably see it in the title and the thumbnail by now. I want to talk about kind of where college football is at, especially when it comes to spring games. We've entered mid-March, so typical spring games would be about 2 or 3 weeks out now, probably more like 3 weeks out, the first ones. But there are still going to be some teams that have spring games. Shout out to those teams. You'll hear more later about my opinion. Before I get into it and a few other things about college football, if you're going to enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you're always up to date whenever I upload. But starting things out, it seems like this almost kind of started. Maybe it's because where I'm located, reporting out of the Omaha, Council Bluffs metro area. Nebraska was kind of one of the first teams that said they were going to go away from this spring game and call it more of a spring showcase. Matt Rhule talked about how he was doing this because he had seen some of his players last year in his first season with the Cornhuskers get some interest, get some offers to go other places after the spring game because other teams were able to see his players perform. So in that sense, I can understand why they moved in that direction. And after that, other programs followed. I think Texas is doing something similar. Ohio State is. Big programs all around the country are kind of doing this same thing. Now, I'm interested to see what it'll look like. And I don't want to overreact yet without having seen what it actually looks like. But I don't want it to be – what I think about is the NBA with the All-Star game. They go away. In this case, that's more for injuries or not even injuries, but just like players just made it so much of an exhibition and really a showcase that there wasn't really a good game of basketball being played. So I think a spring game, Joel Klatt talked about it on his show maybe a week or two ago about how it's an opportunity for fans who maybe can't dish out those – where tickets are at now, $100 to go to a game, or if you're bringing your family, that can wind up being a few $100s, especially at the bigger programs like an Ohio State, like a Michigan, like some of those SEC schools, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, programs around the country. It can get pretty pricey to try to go to a game, especially for the teams that are playing really well. So for fans of those programs, this is an opportunity to go see that team play at a really cheap price. Some spring games, I think, are probably free. I know, having been to a few of Ohio State's, they're like $5. Maybe they're up to like 10 or something, 10 or 15, but not more than that. So I think, it kind of takes away this opportunity for fans to see their players play in a game. Now, if all the players are involved in some capacity, and maybe these spring games or spring showcases now aren't televised, maybe it's not the worst thing. But I'm very much a traditionalist with college football. I see some of the good in changes that are coming to college football, but that there is a lot of bad. Especially with things like the transfer portal and NIL, about how it makes it so much like the NFL's twin almost, or at least, younger brother, basically. So that's a whole nother discussion for another time. You look at the playoff expanding, you look at just all that's happening in college football. It's a changing landscape. I do think, with the players that we're able to see, somebody like Travis Hunter, somebody at Ohio State now like Jeremiah Smith, just the players that we've been able to see play are certainly exciting to watch. Some of the storylines that we've seen, Ohio State having lost to their rival and then win the national championship. Even Michigan last year, with all they went through, all the discussions about, cheating and all that stuff, and just, the darkness that the program has kind of gone through because of the struggles that they've had. And they were in the position of losing to Ohio State a lot, and they go and win a title. You look at Georgia having been 30 years. That's just the national champions, and there's so many other good stories in college football. But that's kind of, again, that's a tangent for another time. Definitely let it ride there for a little bit. But back to the point of the spring games, as you know, spring practices have begun and are now a few weeks into them. Some schools are probably, you know, on spring break and stuff like that. But it's, you know, again, just to kind of summarize the point, I'm definitely, I would say, against doing a showcase rather than a spring game. I can understand where some of these coaches are coming from, but if I had to take a side, I would say I would be on the side of playing spring games, but with the caveat of being willing to see what these showcases look like. If they are nothing but a glorified 7-on-7 with, you know, some competitions of like kicking or passing down the field, or, you know, what the Pro Bowl looks like now in the NFL, if it looks like that, then I'm really not sold on it, and I would definitely say I'm against it. If it looks a little bit, I guess if it's more maybe like that 7-on-7 style game, or, again, I'm not sure what it's going to look like until we see what these look like. So I'm intrigued to see. It's you know, it's not something I think to overreact about. It kind of shows the shifting of college football. You know, the NFL, they don't have any sort of spring game. I think maybe we'll see it in college football with more access to training camp like the NFL does, where fans can go and maybe even have to buy tickets to get to see training camp. So that could be where college football is going. But kind of a shorter video, just really thoughts off my mind on this one, just trying to get it out because it's been a little bit. I know this video probably won't do exceptionally well, but for those who are college football only fans, you're not going to be distracted while March Madness is going on. In fact, you're probably going to want to hear about some college football. So if you've watched to this point in the video, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll have more videos hopefully coming out in the near future, maybe taking a look at some storylines over the off season, or maybe thoughts about last year. We'll see where things go, but I'll definitely keep producing content. Thank you if you've come back after this little break. But that's all for this episode of College Football Talk. I'm your host, Peter Burtnett, signing out. Peace.